We still know nothing, at least officially, about Resident Evil 9. But we do know just what we want to see in it. What it needs to have or do in order to be good and successful. Here they are.
Chris? Leon.
Arguably the most important thing RE9 needs to do is to focus on established, veteran, legacy, fan favorite characters. RE7 took a big gamble by choosing to center on a then entirely new character. This was very much in line with its objective of reinventing the franchise. But it did feel jarring to not play as one of the fan favorite characters we know and love. In the end, the Ethan Winters story was very good. At least I think so. Therefore the gamble certainly paid off. However, with his story now concluded, they need someone else to lead the next game. And it would be a mistake to once again entrust this to a new character. Instead, it's time for the OGs to take the stage once again. But who should get the prestigious honor of returning to a leading role for the first time in years outside of remakes? Well, according to this poll I posted a few months ago asking this very question, it's clear that most people want Leon, with Jill being the second most popular choice. These choices are understandable, since not only are Leon and Jill two of the most popular characters in this series, so much so that even ChatGPT ranked them both as S tier, but they also did not appear in 7 and Village like Chris did. So they have been away from the spotlight for a long time. Again, excluding remakes and excluding CGI movies. I do feel bad for Claire though, who is in the same situation but is clearly not as popular. So RE9 needs to have Leon or Jill as the protagonist, though it could totally take a page from RE6 and Death Island by having more than one main character, thus allowing Leon and Jill and potentially Chris and Claire as main characters. Additionally, RE9 needs to go back to the main storyline of the series. This goes hand in hand with bringing back OG characters. 7 and Village, while loosely connected to the overarching narrative, were still very much their own self-contained stories. After so many years and games establishing a long history and deep lore, it's a shame to toss them aside or underplay them. A return to the original main timeline and story would be very much appreciated to go along with familiar faces leading the charge. The Resident Evil series has employed different camera perspectives throughout its lifespan, from fixed camera angles to third person to first person. This leads to one very important question. Which perspective will or should RE9 have? Well, the answer is easy. It should adopt the most popular one, which according to this other poll I held some months ago, is third person. This is perfectly understandable and I agree. So RE9 should be in third person. Not only is it obviously the most popular perspective, but it's also arguably the best. It sacrifices the horror of fixed camera and the immersion of first person in favor of a better connection to the character, better controls and movement, and a smoother interaction between the players and the environment, not to mention a more fun gameplay experience. Whatever they do, they cannot bring first person back, since it's clearly not very popular, and while some people do like fixed camera, third person is more accessible and it has wider appeal.
Not my lucky day.
Tone, like with camera perspective, is another element that has not been constant in the Resident Evil series. From the slow, tense horror of the early games and the 7, to the pulse-pounding non-stop action of 5 and 6, and the happy marriage of the 2 seen in 4 and Village, the series has managed to cater to almost every type of player by switching up its pacing and the tone. Resident Evil 9 will of course have to adopt one path. The question is, which one? To determine this, I once again took to asking you guys. The results are that the perfect blend of horror and action is what most people prefer. Whether this is due to the fact that RE4, arguably the best game in the series, is responsible for introducing this style, or people cannot choose either extreme and would rather have the best of both worlds, is a question for another day. The fact remains that this is the tone most people prefer. Pure horror is the second most popular, and all-out action is the least popular, though there are still people who prefer this, and as fans of the series, their opinion matters as well. In the end, I think that incorporating elements of both horror and action and balancing them masterfully is the way to go for RE9. Not only because this is what most people want, but also because those that favor either approach will still get what they enjoy the most. Everyone is happy. One solution, which might be difficult to pull off, but would be amazing if Capcom does manage to implement it, is the ability to adjust just how much horror and action we want. Just like we get a slider to adjust brightness, sound, etc. This way, we could tailor the experience to be precisely what we wanted it to be. From the outset, and for a while, the games in this series were mostly solitary experiences. It wasn't until Code Veronica that they finally gave us an AI companion. Something that the remake of the original Resident Evil, and especially RE0, would build upon, culminating in what RE4 provided. Once again, the perfect marriage of two elements: cooperation with an AI companion and the classic solo experience. RE5 then came along to allow, for the first time in the series, the ability to have another player with you, something RE6 expanded on greatly. However, since RE6, co-op has been basically completely absent from the series. 7 and Village dropped this feature entirely. The remakes of 2 and 3 stayed true to the originals by remaining single player only. The RE4 remake is the only modern/recent Resident Evil to feature cooperative play, and only with an AI companion and in some parts of the game. All of this because, like the other remakes, it stayed true to its original incarnation. So co-op has had an on and off relationship with the series, which leaves RE9 in an interesting position. Should it stay on the path set by its two immediate predecessors by also being single player only, or should it bring back full-on co-op play for the first time in years? Well, I once again took to a poll to figure this out, and the results are basically a 50-50 split between those that prefer to play solo and those that prefer to play with other players or the AI. So there is no clear winner here, meaning that the only solution is to embrace both approaches. Ada's campaign in RE6 is a good example of what they could go for. She has no partner. Her campaign is a solo experience unless you have another player with you, at which point she gets a random placeholder character as her partner. If they bring co-op back for any new game or remake, they should give us the option to play how we want, whether that is completely solo, with an AI companion, or with another player. Me personally, I'm fine with being unable to play with other people, but I love having an AI companion. I can't really imagine Resident Evil without one anymore, though I also love being completely alone. RE4 is again a great example. You are without and with Ashley for almost equal parts, catering to both of my preferred styles of play. So ideally, RE9 will let us choose here. Honestly though, Resident Evil 9 not having co-op is not a complete deal breaker, since the RE5 and RE6 remakes should scratch this itch for cooperative play in Resident Evil. This style of play will still be very much in the future of the series. Puzzles are a staple of Resident Evil. However, with each game it feels like they get simplified more, and there is fewer and fewer of them. Even 7 and Village, which went back to series roots with almost everything, kicked puzzles to the side. They were few and far between and way too easy. Now I get that maybe they just don't want people to end up stuck in a puzzle for hours unable to progress. But I am sure that a lot of people, myself included, love a good puzzle that makes us think outside the box. Though, just to be sure, I once again held a poll, and it turns out that yes, most people do love puzzles and consider them integral to Resident Evil. Then we have a tie between those that are neutral to puzzles, meaning that they wouldn't mind seeing them take center stage again, and those that both love and hate them, meaning that provided the puzzles are not overly complicated and tedious, they are fully on board with them. So the majority wants puzzles, good puzzles, and plenty of them. Though we still have some that hate puzzles depending on what the puzzle is, and those that flat out hate them regardless. Therefore, the solution is this. RE9 should go all in with puzzles. Like with the previous point though, just give us the option to choose what we want. Those that don't like puzzles should be allowed to turn them off or to simplify them, and those that love them should be allowed to get exactly what they crave. We might not know what RE9 has in store for us, but we definitely know what we want from it. Please keep in mind that this is my personal list. It covers only basic things that I think the series needs in the future. Namely things that once upon a time were integral to the series but that have been neglected in recent games. And I excluded a bunch of small things I specifically would like to see. Talking about, say, what kind of story I want to see or where the game should be set, etc. are things that deserve a separate video, and discussing things that I personally want might alienate a lot of people. My intent is for this video to echo what the community as a whole wants, not what I want. This could also be the subject of its own video. I encourage you to share your wishlist in the comments below. I definitely want to know what other people are hoping for in the newest chapter of this historic franchise. Also, thank you very much to everyone who voted on all the polls I shared in this video. Your opinion, your voice, helped me put this video together, which is something I really appreciate. Now please, be sure to click the links on screen to check out some more videos like this one. I will see you over there. Thank you so very much for watching.